Here now to introduce our next inductee, Tom Joyner is one of his fellow ABC Radio Network's persons, Doug Banks. Doug was born and raised in Detroit, worked in Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Las Vegas before joining WGCI in Chicago, where he did mornings until the station hired another DJ, Tom Joyner. Doug became the #1 afternoon disc jockey, and the two became known as the Turntable Brothers. Right now, here he is to salute his friend Tom Joyner. Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Banks.
All right, perfect. You know what? I had a big speech prepared, but you know, I'm a radio guy, so I can talk off the cuff. I want to tell you something about this man, Tom Joyner. This is a man who I'm very honored to call a very close friend of mine, and when this honor came up, I went to him and I said, you've got to let me do this because I'm the only one who really knows you, knows the inner workings of you. And so, of course, he immediately said, yeah, man, you're the one. And with that, I said, all right, fine. What do I tell you about Tom Joyner? Here's a man who has done an incredible thing, not only for urban radio, but for radio on the whole. Tom Joyner is a very unique man. About 12 years ago, I was sitting at home doing mornings in Chicago and about to get married and was kind of anxious to be with my wife and spend time working in the afternoon. And before that happened, Tom Joyner called me one day and he said there was a rumor running around that Tom was going to come back to Chicago and do radio. He was already very successful in Dallas at KKDA, and the word was out that he was coming back to Chicago to do radio. And as most radio people are, you get a little nervous when you think somebody's coming in to take your job. So he called me one afternoon and I said, hey, man, what's going on? This rumor's going on. What is happening? And he said, you want to know, man? I'm going to do them both. Both. You're going to do Dallas and Chicago? I thought 6 months at the outside. Well, 8 years later and over 9.5 million frequent flyer miles, this man flew back and forth from Dallas to Chicago every day with two very successful shows. First, a #1 morning show in Dallas, #1 afternoon show in Chicago. The only reason he stopped doing it was because he had just about bought up all of American stock. And the only other reason was because the ABC radio network came to him and said, look, let's keep you in one city and put you on all over the country. To this day, the Tom Joyner Morning Show is heard in over 95 cities around America, and it's #1 in many cities. Washington, D.C. It's #1 in Atlanta. It's #1 in New Orleans and right here in Chicago. Ladies and gentlemen, enough talk. Let's hear a little bit of Tom Joyner.
This is the hardest working man in radio, the fly jock, Tom Joyner. It's time for That's the Way, he said, that's the way it ought to be. And here he is, the doctor, Dr. George Wallace. Good morning, doctor.
It's time for the J.O.D.
All right, the joke of the day.
Joke of the day, what does Hillary Clinton, why does she look so tired, Tom?
Why?
So you got to get up early in the morning if you want to be the first lady.
Your 1998 inductee into the Radio Hall of Fame, truly the hardest working man in radio, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Joyner.